let's jump right in. So I'm just gonna carry forward and push on from where we last left off. And just to quickly review, we're still in the execute page. We made a few page objects here to the left, but they're mostly empty. There's nothing in them just yet. That's fine. I'll just run through what we have in execute so far, which uses some of the page objects which we created here. We got the login page, which is the only thing we're using. We have the product page commented out. But just to review again, already you're seeing some of the direct benefits of using this framework, this page object model framework. Let me actually, yeah. So let me delete this. This is not needed. So this is test using POM, and let's say test. Well, we'll just give them generic terms for how we used to do it. Test 1, test 2. So already you could see, like before, that whole the whole idea of reducing your code, cutting the fat out. You're already seeing it in work. This does the exact same thing, just by, and we haven't even really implemented fully quite yet. Regardless, you're already seeing the market improvements. I mean, just from a quick glance, you could see how sloppy and hard to read this is versus how much it's getting easier to read. This starts to read like an actual step-by-step use case. User lands on the login page, inputs his username, inputs the password, and logs in. Yeah, so let me just run that one more time just to get everyone acquainted with it once again. So I'll hit run, test using POM. It's going to run. It's going to pull it up, open a Chrome, log in using the wrong passcode, and shuts out, quits. Okay. And before we did that, I think it was Ish before, he was looking over the login page. This is the only one we really worked on. We're going on to product page next, but we'll get to that in just a minute. First, let's complete login page. So we did that. We created a login page. Ordered our expats. All of these work, and the driver part was important. Yesterday, Ish brought up that we could instantiate. Well, again, let me put these to the side so you can see it all in one go. Right, so I pretty much asked you, I gave you the skeleton of it without having typed in anything in the login page. I told you this is what I want done. I want to be able to log in, and I want my actual page objects to have these higher level function. Input username, input password, click login button, because that's pretty much exactly what you do here. Let me pull that up. Open up the actual saucedemo.com, and I just wanted it in a step-by-step manner, as if I were an actual user, walking through the app. So obviously the login page, we didn't include this at first. I kind of wanted you to get that yourselves. We had the login page instantiated, but the problem was you start the driver here, right? You created a new driver, made sure all the properties are set up. And you even get into the web page, but you can't. The login page class, the page object. So when I use a page object in class, page object is basically just another term for, this class. So don't get confused by that. So I instantiated the login page, but I still have to feed in that driver. Why? Because I could have had these individual functions take in the driver. But obviously, I would have to do that every time. If I wanted to input username, I'd have to feed that driver, feed that driver, feed that driver. But as we saw, if we just simply use the constructor the way it was, the main utility of a constructor, one of them, is you could feed something in it, and then it makes this locally scoped. That's the term for it, where previously here was not in the scope of login page, but as soon as you feed it in, now it's in scope. Now each function can utilize that driver that we embedded into this variable right here. So So we could feed in actual values that we'll need for input username. The actual username, because once we're going down and creating the test steps here, we'll want to change this username around, right? So it's as simply as doing this, or from Jimmy to Bob. This automatically updates because of the way you structured it. And put username, password, click login button. But that was the general overview. Did you guys have any questions on that, or should I keep going?
No, it's clear.
Yeah, it's clear. Okay, sounds good. All right. So let me just recalibrate. All right, so now that we have that handle, how about we do the same thing for the product page? So we got the product page right here. It has nothing done with it. So anyone want to start pitching in? So this is the XPath, but before I do this, let me change one thing. And I was actually kind of experimenting with this before this class. So there's a problem with this XPath where there's a way where you could individually select, like say I wanted to click this and not any of the other ones, and I didn't want to get all of them to only select one from a list. I don't want to have to do all that. So I just wanted to select all of them. And for some reason this, if I use it like this XPath right here, let me copy and paste it. So if I did this, obviously it'll select all of them. But if I did this too, it should only select. Now it's working. Let me see if it works. Keeps working. Yeah, 0 elements matching. So if I did this, where if you look at it a little closely, I can't zoom in anymore. But if I put another bracket, another left and right bracket, and I put the number in it, usually how most developers design it, or it should work automatically, is based on if this fits the criteria for all of them. You can specify the specific one if you mention the number, but for whatever reason, if I hit enter, you see zero elements matching. So can you guys think of another way to get it? So my question is, I want to select each of these individually. From this, do you see any way I could do that? So clearly this XPath is not working. Do you have any other suggestions? And you could tell me to scroll around if you need like a little hint or anything like that.
I'll hover over the first one.
Say again?
Hover over, bike light, sauce labs, bike light.
All right, so you want me to inspect that?
Yeah.
All right, it's inspected. So right now it's selected it, but here's a little hint. Well, no, let me see if you could kind of guess or anything.
Wait, which part are you trying to get?
So I want to be able to design a script where if I like send a button, like send a number over, it'll click on the correct one. So if I said like, select the 6th product, it would give me this or something like that, right? Let me get back in.
So go into another one. Go to.
Okay, I'll go into this one. Oh no, we already selected it. All right, I'll go into this one. You notice anything changing?
Yeah. So the item _1.
Yeah, that's the one.
The one _ 0.
Yep, that'll work because again, the A tag refers to a link, right? So both if you look over it, div is just short for division, and it's just a HTML term that refers to that space it's taken up. But the specific link, even though we click it, if I click it and inspect it, it goes right to div, right? Like right here. And if I go to fleece jacket, it does the same thing. It goes to that div class inventory item name. But if you look up, like Berm just did, he noticed this, at least the number is changing, right? And this A tag refers to the actual link, so that would work. So keep going.
So you would write your code to be able to change that number.
Right. To basically just change the number, right? So let me try to get into this one right here. A at ID equals Well, let me show you if it works at first. Wait, no. Item 5 title link. That's the name. Item 5 title link. Close it, and it does the job. It gives me the specific one. So if I were to somehow be able to change that number, that would give me the ability to refer to each of them specifically. So instead of that XPath we put before, let me change it all together. And this I'll give you because I didn't go over this method completely, but it's helpful in plenty of instances. It's pretty much just another string method, and I'll actually go to it in a bit. But for now, instead of that 5, let me do this, and that's all. Let's say product. So this is something we put in ourselves, but we'll get to that later. Before we get to it, help me fill in the product page, whatever information you feel it needs.
So you need to bring over the WebDriver again?
Right. So just tell me exactly what to type.
Alright, so private WebDriver.
Right. So let me fill in the obvious details. Okay.
It's the product page of the constructor, the WebDriver in it.
Yeah, give me all right. So I'll import that. Yeah. You're saying take in the WebDriver?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much copying this. All right. So the only thing I'm interested in the product page for now is just being able to click the specific products to my liking. So based on that information, what would you like me to do further?
You can make a method called click product.
Okay. Like this?
Yeah.
Why do we need a new driver for?
Say again?
I thought we were passing driver in.
Let me mute myself. There's a lot of echo. Everyone mute yourself and let this talk.
No, I figured out. I was gonna ask why we're creating a new driver in each class, but that's just a variable.
Yeah, it's just a variable, but keep that in mind because again, the don't repeat yourself principle comes in, and don't think this is finalized whatever we're typing in here, or even stuff we've typed in here. Obviously, you should keep it in mind, not wanting the driver to be fed in here because, like, for instance, look at it here. So now that we've created this constructor here with the same same manner we did with the login page, we can obviously feed in the driver here, right? So that looks nice, and if they're both taking in the same driver, why is it that I have to mention it in login page and product page? Don't answer that just yet. Let me fill it in. But remember what we did with the Pokemon class, right? So just think of that. But let's go on with what you were saying about click product. Oh, Fa, can you hear me? Everyone's on mute, by the way, so you gotta unmute yourself.
I'm saying then you put like the driver dot find element by XPath and then product.
Say it by XPath the what?
Product.
Yeah, so it'll refer to this.
I'm thinking like maybe for the parameters for click product, you put like integer variable, and that would tell you which product to click.
Okay. We'll say no. Right. No, I get what you're saying. Okay. So that works so far, and I'll provide you with this one because I didn't really go over with it before. That's why it's good to really. I want you guys, because you know what, the amount of, so I did product dot, and that refers to this string that locked this XPath up. But really, experiment with it. Obviously, these libraries being so extensive, I can't go through with every single method. But think of a few scenarios where you might want to manipulate strings, and you'll find really useful methods here. So it's like Fa was saying, I got to manipulate this somehow, because I clearly put this bracket. I don't know what you call that. That less than what do you call that? A less than sign, product greater than sign, because I want to be able to replace it, right? So what do you think? What do you think the string library has that could help me with that?
Maybe like product and then Uh, index something. I don't know.
I'm in it right now. What do you think?
Oh, you're like around it now.
Well, I'm looking at the method I want to use. What do you think it'll be? It's over here. So
Something replace.
yeah, replace. It pretty much tells you right there, right? So the how replace works, it takes different parameters, but we're interested in this one right here. We haven't got over regex too much, but basically you just feed in the first string value, and that looks into what you want to replace here. The thing with that is that it has to be unique, right? Very unique. So for instance, if I had this written exactly right here and somewhere else, like over here, that would confuse it because it'll just replace this part right here, right? And I don't want to do that because this is the only section of the string I want to change. But it's good here because this product isn't written anywhere else like this, right? So what I would do,
Accepting a string value, should the parameter be a string?
yes, yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. So well, product dot means I'm referring to that product, right? Yeah. So that has already fed this string in. So what do you think? Don't this just auto populates. Don't worry about that. And obviously it'll take the resulting XPath. Because it changes that around. So what do you think? What do you think I have to put in the parameters? So it takes two parameters.
Wait, why does it take two? I don't understand that.
So you want to replace one part of it, right? So any part of this, because it doesn't know which part of it you want to replace. But
like replace product with
right. So how you want me to write that?
Product?
Yeah. Well, exactly how I wrote it. If I just wrote product, it would leave this and this, right? Remember, I added that myself.
Oh, okay.
And that would confuse the XPath. That would be a wrong XPath. So I'd include the entire one. Okay. And now?
And then that would be where the replacing value would be.
Right. So since it takes a string, like this is fine. We could convert a number to a string. In fact, why not? Let me make sure. Yeah, we could do that. So there's another method where, so what you're saying, Phi, you take this and put it in here, right?
Yeah.
Right, because you replace this product and you want to put in the number in it, but our problem is integer is it's an integer, not a string. So in order to resolve that, because we want to create a new string, we can't use a number. So anytime you have like an actual number you locked up in an integer, you could convert it. And the integer class contains that. It's called integer.toString num, right? So that'll spit out the actual string value. And since let's say it was 4, so it would say integer.toString and take that number and spit out a 4 in string, right? So it'll replace this whole part as an example and put a 4 in it. And that should fit the criteria to select any kind of product we have right now. All right. So I think we're ready to try this at this point. And we didn't even do much. So let's try it. So we instantiated the product page. It takes in that driver. We click the login button. We should be in the product page. Fa, you want to take it away?
Yeah. So we product page, and then hold on. Okay, so you do product page dot click product.
Yeah, exactly how we coded it right here, right? And let's say
you put what is that, initializing the product page?
Yeah, we did it right here.
I forgot you did. Okay.
Yeah.
So you just put any number in there and that's it?
Yeah. So this is designed weirdly. So if you look at the first one, for some reason they tagged it with a 4 and not a 1, but that's fine. It doesn't really matter. That's the developer's fault. So let's run it and see what happens. Oh, let me change that. Standard user. Secret sauce. Let me make sure. Yep. And there's a timeout so we can look at what gets clicked. So when we run it, go there. Let's see what happened. Oh, no. Okay, what did we do wrong? It's over here.
You put find element and you put product instead of
yeah. So basically, you just took the same thing, right? So you got to be really careful. Replace, if you hover over it. I mean, I already included it, but I realized I messed up. So it spits out a string. So this result is what gets fed in. Yeah. But let me make it more specific. Just like XPath product. All right, now let's run it. Oh, we didn't click it. See, little things. All right, so let's see. We fit in 3. Just remember that shirt to make sure another one gets clicked. So let me try another one. Click product 1 now. That's good. Now it's selected the black shirt, right? So you can pretty much rest assured it should work. But obviously we don't have many checks. So obviously if we put something like 99, that'll fail and throw an error because you know it'll try to find that XPath, but obviously none of the items have you know item underscore 99 because there's not that many products. There's only 6. But for now, let's not worry about checks. All right, so we did that. So that's a working method for the product page. Now you could rest assured that most of it works. All right. Now, my problem with this whole setup right now is I want to take out some of the repetition. So if you look at it carefully, and you know, for this you could harken back to the Pokemon project. There's a lot of driver.find element, web driver. When again, there's the only unique things each of the page objects have to themselves are the XPaths, right? These we could these we could rest assured that this is unique to the actual page object, right? This XPath is unique to this, and you won't find it here, so it makes sense to contain it here. But for me to keep having to reference driver.find element as an example to click, it's strenuous and it violates that don't repeat yourself principle. So how do we resolve it in the Pokemon project, and what do you think we could do here?
We make another class and
Okay.
we put like all the simple functions in there, like
Right. No,
clicking,
you're on the right track. Keep going.
put like clicking buttons in there, or like inputting like string values.
Right. Because all page objects, well, any page, if you want to look at it that way, they share similar functionality, and you could click stuff, and you could send keys, and you could, pretty much that's it for this web app. But at least with click and send keys, right? This is, you're inputting the username, but realistic, like in all simplicity, you're just sending keys, and you do that here and here. So how do we resolve that with the Pokemon project, and how do you think we resolve that here? With the Pokemon project, you remember with the Bulbasaur class, Charmander, Squirtle, they had similar functionality in that they could attack, and we resolved it in a way where we don't have to, put the attack method into all of them, right? How do we do that? Each of the specific Pokemon classes, they each had their, unique, unique values to them, yeah. But we also had like an attack function to them. How did we resolve that? Well, we don't have to repeat attack in every single Pokemon class. And just to give you, let's look at how Ish did it. Any ideas?
Well, we allowed the battle class to take into
Wait, what's the question again?
So my question is, there's a lot of repetition going on. You can see that clearly, right? I see a WebDriver, even though in your head you know both of these classes use WebDrivers. There's a, like you said, Fi, you said like the click functionalities, input functionalities, all the page objects technically share that, right? So I don't want to have to type in driver.findelement.click, right? If I know each page does that.
And we just extend something?
Yeah, exactly. So I made a like I kind of went too fast last time and I already did it. So that's the kind of the functionality of the base page, right? So let's go off on that. So let's assume, so I already made it an abstract class, but that was the answer. But how do you think, let's say, let me take out this and, sorry, let me overshadow this for now. And then I'll take out the login page so you can see it side by side. So that is the correct answer, but let's see how do you even do that? Because this is empty, right? And this is the login page and this is the product page. So each class has its constructor, even abstract classes, right? So there's not an error, that's fine. What do you think, just looking down, what do you think functionality wise we could do? Where, so obviously this is going to extend from it, and I'll put that right now actually. Okay, so how do we start reducing the fat of this? How do you think?
The WebDriver,
Okay.
private WebDriver, you could pull it out, put it into the base page.
Right, perfect. So right off the bat, you can pull in the driver because, since it extends anytime the login page, which it should take in the WebDriver, right? Because that's the only way for the ultimate page objects to even use it. So it should take the WebDriver, but because they exist in every class, we don't need to specify them in every login page, right? So why not take the WebDriver and just stick it in one base page? So that's a good start. Let me put that in. So since it extends from the base page as well, we could take this out. And you see there are no errors. Well, let me see. There are errors. What am I talking about?
Is it because of private? Or
Yeah, it's private. You're right. So obviously, we protect it. If you protect it, 0 errors. So we're still, ultimately now they're referring to the same WebDriver. All right, so that's a great place to start. And this does it. And what was that? Now even optimizing it a bit more. We could go this route, but what did we say is the other way of doing it? So what I mean by line 17 and line 12 right here in product page are fine, but what was that keyword we used? Super, right? But if I did super now, what's the problem?
You didn't make a constructor.
Yeah, this doesn't even do anything. So why not code that same functionality here? Yeah. Right. So all I did was let me just so you could see it happen live. So let me do this so you can see how it was. You can already see the reduction. And that's not really even why you do it, because it could easily be just as long. That's not really the point. The point is this should communicate to your reader that it should rehash the point almost, to tell them that, all right, this extends, and this also uses the constructor of the abstract class it extends from, right? So this dot driver equals driver, right? So even right here we could optimize it. We don't have to do the same thing twice. See, and now it fixes itself. Okay, so now we got the whole constructor part down. That's fine. Anything else?
I feel like if you for any of those functions there, input username,
Yeah.
input password, and
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
I feel like they could all be in the abstract class.
Yep, they can. That's exactly why we do it. Now exactly how do you wanna do it? That's the question.
You take you just create a function that accepts a string and also an XPath, and then you just plug those variables into that method you have, driver.findElement. So
Yeah, so tell me what you want typed out.
okay, so just write public void. I guess you could call it input maybe.
Okay, yeah, that's a great name for it. Why? Because
Could input anything.
Yeah, input is a catch-all term for anything. Input username, input password. If there were another field like input search bar, it would all apply to input, right? So you're starting to get this idea of abstraction. Like, yeah, input is very a general term, and you expand upon it once you start extending from it, make it more specific. But input, whatever you're extending from, it should have like a high-level word for it. Input, right? Okay. All right.
And you could do like string query, like parameter. Call it like string query.
Yeah, let's call it query.
And then string XPath.
Yep, perfect.
And then you just rewrite that same driver method.
Okay. Go ahead.
But then you use the parameter names.
Right. So you would find the element using the XPath. What did I do wrong here?
You gotta do by.xpath.
Yeah. Find element by.xpath dot what?
Send keys.
Yeah. In the query, right? So what does this help us resolve exactly? Now that we did this, what can we do here?
You just delete those two.
Okay, so let's start with input username. No, I mean, let me stop getting in the habit of deleting. So you should be able to see, the changes happening, and you should be able to see the effects of making these small changes that end up becoming a big deal. All right. So you were saying?
Well, you don't have to delete it, but you don't need input username anymore, do you?
Say again?
You could just you don't need that function anymore. You don't have to delete it if you don't want to.
You're saying?
What?
You're saying I don't need the input username function?
No, why would you need it?
So, no, that's a great question, because I see what you're saying. We could say input here, right? And you don't see the value of it by specifying input username. But suppose I was in a separate page that had a search bar, right? So suppose let's say the checkout page had a search bar, right? And let's extend from it like we did all the others. Base page, and just like let it fill it out. Let it fill itself out. And let's say it had its whatever XPath force. Let's say it had a search bar, and let's say it had whatever the XPath. So that's fine, and I could leave it that way. And if I were to do it like you just suggested, and let's say we instantiated the checkout page here, and let me take this out so it's easier to see at all. it's not working? Alright, just ignore that for now. Alright. Import that. So your question was, alright, let me say we're logging in. So let me actually include all that. But instead of this, let's say we just did this. Well, actually, what do we do? Well, that should already answer your question. So since, well, I mean, that's a kind of a rule. So since you abstract away from it, right? You can't invoke it if it's in the abstract class. So what I mean is, if I did, or no, what am I talking about? Yeah, you see, it doesn't tell you what that abstract, despite having extended from that base page. It refers to the click login button, doesn't click. But forget about that. Let's say I did say.
No, but you don't have a click on in the abstract class. You have input.
Oh yeah, my bad. What am I doing? You're right. Yeah, my bad. You're right. And this shouldn't show up, but that's a different question. So input, yeah, you could do this. That will work. But I had the checkout page right here, right? And I could also put input here. The problem is, you could leave it like that and this will still work. The problem is, in automation, you want to be very specific. So if in here, I'm not really sure what you're inputting into, right? You and I know it's input into, you know, like a field for a thing, username or a password, right? But I mean, I'm asking you, wouldn't it be a little more specific if you had an input username or you input, input search box function? That just gives you a more verbose option. I get what you're saying, and usually you do it the way, you were suggesting. Like in the Pokemon class, we didn't, rehash the same function. We didn't wrap it around the abstracted function. But in this case, it's just.
So then, what's the point of like? Are you saying that we shouldn't have made any of those functions in the abstract class?
In which class?
Like, are you saying that we shouldn't have put input in the abstract class?
No, in here definitely you should have. So it just
so what's that for?
It just reduces it a bit.
Part?
That's a really good question. So instead of this, you could simply put whatever we specified. It was I think it was XPath first. Query first and then XPath. So in here, yeah. So let me just type it out so you can see it firsthand. XPath password. I mean, you tell me. You compare the two lines, right?
Yeah,
So,
I think for readability.
Yeah, at the very least, right? You have readability, but it's more to. Let me just type this out too. Input. That query part is kind of tripping me up. Yeah, username, XPath, username. So yeah, I am glad you brought that up because that's a very good question. But it's just that it's readability, plus it tells the reader. This would be your only other option, right? And first you're reducing that in half, and if you look into it, it kind of binds all these other classes into like a single abstract class. Like it almost rehashes the point, but it's more to get you in that mindset of wherever you see even the slightest optimization, you should opt for it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. But yeah, even slight things like this for readability, it almost always is just for readability. You should opt for it. But find berm. Does that all make sense? What we just did there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me zoom it out a bit. So you're borrowing, and you're doing the input, and just so you don't have to keep using this driver.findElement, right? You shouldn't have to ever refer to this again once you go this route. All right. And how about the click login button? How do I? We haven't coded in here. So what would it be? How would I make that simpler?
You could just do public void click on the base page.
Yeah. So fill it out.
and then you put like a string XPath, and then for the actual function part, you just put the driver dot find element XPath.
Yep.
You put
And click, right? Yep, and that should be good. And so we could take this out. I'll comment it out just to, you know, let you see it yourself. And this okay, how do I fill this out?
You put click and you put well, you would have to. I guess you just put a string XPath in the parameters. Is that?
No, there's a reason why I asked you this specifically, just because you have to kind of think about it for a second. I know the first you know, instinct is to think it needs a parameter, but why would it need a parameter here if it has all the parameters? I mean, not parameters, all the values it'll need to grab that, right? Because, I mean, think of it. Let's say it was just this, which is the correct answer, but it's important for you to know why. So login page.click button, right? We know the login page object contains the XPath, right? The XPath is right here, login button, right? And this, since it's abstracted in the driver here, you know, we're storing that driver, right? You click, and since you specify click login button, the end user should automatically know, hey, I don't need to put anything else in here. This will just click the login button for me, right? So since the XPath is right here, we won't need any parameters, right? It's already here. So what do you think it is?
Click in parentheses.
Yeah. That's it. Right? We're almost good to go. But there was this one thing I noticed while I was doing it. While Ish was asking that question, if you look here, I don't like this because there's a reason this was abstracted, but it's still showing up. How do I make sure that doesn't happen? Because, you know, the login page has the click login button functionality, but you shouldn't be going into the it shouldn't even be brought up because the login, all that should be abstracted away. How do I do that?
Is it public?
Where?
The methods and base page?
Well, that would let me change it. Like, so for instance, if I made this, no, sorry. Let me instead do it here.
I mean, I don't get the issue. Wait, what's the issue again?
Okay, so my issue is, you see this click functionality right here, right? This belongs to the base page. But if I already specified for the login page, the main method that should be visible to the end user's click login button, I don't want this click to be shown, right?
But isn't that because it's the method is public in the base page?
Right, that is the problem. So how do I fix that?
They're protected?
Right, so what do I do?
Just change it to protected?
Yeah,
Or
protected, exactly. So that's the whole point of protected, and that goes for all of them, right? You want to protect all your abstract, you know, variables and fields, methods, everything you want to protect it. So now if I do it, this is the only thing that'll show up, and that reflects a more accurate, you know, representation to the end users, because this is the only thing he should be, you know, concerning himself with. He shouldn't be concerning himself with, this is for our sake. This is to make our life easier. But for him, if he sees too many, you know, you already saw how big a library gets. You don't want the abstract methods to start showing, because, you know, this is for our benefit, but this is for, you know, whoever uses it, that's for their benefit. They shouldn't be seeing more than one. Okay, so we got that handled. All right. And let me take out the checkout page. Let's not save it. Let me make sure product page is good. Super driver private. Yeah, otherwise we're good. So let me run through a complete test case. All right, we're good. All right. Now on to the next thing. All right, for this, I need you guys to get ready to set up your environment a bit more. So go to your POM file, this pom.xml file. Let me know when you're ready.
Palm file. Where you go? Can you go to it?
Yeah. So it should
Oh,
be
in the editor.
right in the editor. Okay. So when you're well, make sure it's the right one. And then look up testng. And type Maven. Testng Maven. And select this one. Always look for yeah. Testng Maven. We'll Google that up.
That's the right now.
Maven.
Yeah.
Which link?
No, I'm saying just Google up it's called testng, and put in Maven, and that helps you look up the Maven repository. It's one of the first options here. You'll see mavenrepository.com. So once you see that link, click it.
Okay.
Yeah, this is gonna be a dependency we use, and you'll see the utility of it soon. It's good to download this one. Always go for the one with the most hits. So let's click that. And you just tap it, don't right click it, just tap it, because it automatically copies it to your clipboard. So after you do that, go back to your POM file and make sure you're in the dependencies tag, right? And you know how we pasted Selenium in before? Now we're gonna paste in another dependency. And all you have to do is tab it over for yourself and hit save.
It's on 6.14.3, right?
Yeah.
Can you re-explain what Palm XML does?
Yeah, sure. So remember when we downloaded Maven, right? And basically, I'll go over POM, Maven, all of that, testng, all of that much more thoroughly. But the basic idea is this helps you pretty much just manage your project. The whole system of pulling in dependencies used to be really difficult, where it wasn't as simple as just pasting in this dependency tag. Because, all right, so let me, and you don't have to do this, but this is just to show you. So I just went into a folder that's hidden. That's why there's a dot there. Usually anytime there's a dot in Mac, that means the folder is hidden. But let me make sure I'm in it. And let me open that folder. Where is it? Oh, it's right here. So if you look here, there's a bunch of stuff happening in the background that a lot of libraries that you have access to, but you're not, you don't realize it yet. And let me see where testng was. Right. So I clicked the org folder and I clicked testng. That's the one we just download. So what Maven helps to do is this M2 folder was created automatically for you in the background once you installed Maven. And anytime you need these dependencies, which you'll see right now why we need a testng, it downloads all that for you in the background. So if I click it, you'll see what we just installed, 16.14.3, and I guess it installs these on the side for you as well. But a jar file is what that is just think of it as I didn't teach you guys this, but anytime you want to deploy your code, you want to package it up. That's all it is. You package up your code, put it in a jar file for someone else to use, and someone else coded this, right? And in this is its own set of class files, right? And we want to use whatever they programmed up, which is testng. But that on a very low level, that's what testng does. If I wanted to pull in more dependencies, I could do it, and all I'd have to do is look up the where is it? Go into the repository. Whatever I want, it's in here. It's like, think of it like Node, where there's a repository of external tools you could pull in, and this just happens to be the Yeah,
so what exactly? How did we use Selenium?
So when we pulled in Selenium, right? All of these. Let me go to it. Oh, it should be in the base page.
Like all the XPath methods and stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Otherwise, we didn't get that out of thin air. So you see org.openqa.selenium.by. So let me pull that up. So we're already in org. Let's go to OpenQA. Maybe I'm not in it. Weirdly, I can't find it. Let me org. Oh, there it is. I don't know why they put OpenQA, but here's Selenium, right? And this basically this is just a bunch of you see more jar files, right? We wouldn't have had that if we didn't put it in the POM file. So the bad thing about it is when you're first learning, you see all this stuff happen around you, and you don't question it, and you get too used to using these methods without realizing where they come from. But that's because it does it all here. As soon as we imported Selenium, as soon as we pasted that here, just same way. We went to Maven, and we looked up Selenium, pulled it in, and it did it all for us in the background. Now we need TestNG, and it's just the same way of doing it.
So where do you want us to paste that thing we just copied?
You see how it should look like how it is on my screen. So you see these dependencies tags, right? So plural, inside the plural should be the singular dependency. Did it work for you?
Hold on. Dependency. I just paste and save it, right?
Yeah. Make sure you save it. Otherwise, it won't build in the background, and your project won't recognize it.
Do I run anything after saving it?
Oh no, that's it. As long as you save into the POM file, it'll do all that for you.
Dependencies. Okay, project. Okay, so what? Okay, so what are we?
Oh no, for now we're just configuring. So let me know when you're ready with this, and then we're good to go.
I'm ready, but I actually got a question. Like before we continue.
Yeah, sure.
If you go back to your login page.
Login page, yeah. Oh, it's over here somewhere. Let me X out some of these. All right, yeah.
We put in click parentheses XPath login button. I'm getting an error there.
Click.
That's on line 33.
On line 33, you get an error?
Yeah.
Okay. So it might be something wrong with your base page. So did you
Base page.
Oh, did you extend it from this?
From the base page, right? Yeah.
You did all that?
Go to your page. Maybe I didn't.
Yeah, let me put it side by side for you.
Oh, okay. I forgot to put it in. I see.
Well, what did you forget?
I forgot to. I didn't make the method in the base page. Wait, we're supposed to make the base page now?
Say again?
Are we supposed to make the base page now?
Well, now you just listen. Obviously, I don't expect you to keep up, but this will all be available for you. So I'd rather you just pitch in.
Supposed to follow along and make it with you, or
No. If you want it, I guess Berm was trying to keep up, but this will all be available for you.
Okay.
Yeah. But obviously, you should pay attention more now. So when you do it yourself, you should be able to do it yourself. It's better if you do it later. Yeah. But just for now, just keep up so you have questions. I don't want you to scramble and just type whatever I type.
Right. Okay.
All right. So we're all good with everything else. TestNG is good. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
How do I know if mine works?
You don't until you hit an error. Because if you save it, you should be good to go. And if it doesn't have any red lines here, you're most likely you're good. Don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So the next thing is, obviously, now we want to make another optimization, where so far we've just been used to plugging things inside the main method here and then hitting run. But you could see how this could be very unmanageable. Like we have to import stuff in here, make these methods hit, there, and it becomes very difficult to work with. And this is where TestNG comes in. So once you have all your base pages ready, you wanna group it into a larger type of extraction where you specify the type of test. What I mean by that is, you wanna you in your actual code base, you want to specify what you're testing on a grand scheme. And what I mean by that is, yeah, you got the base page, cart page, checkout, and they all specify the page, but they're not really saying what you're testing clearly because they're just page objects. So in order to do that, you create a separate class, and in this case, I'll call it login test. Right, and then we'll fill this in a bit. And the point is, you want to tell people looking into your code what you're exactly testing. And here's login test, and another high-level function of most, especially in this Swag Lab, since it's an e-commerce site, or it's trying to portray itself as that. It has stuff. It has e-commerce items. Like swag and whatnot. It has sweaters, shirts, backpacks. So clearly there's a payment component to it, most likely, right? We went to that. We added to cart and went to the checkout page. So there's like a payment component, so you just call it payment test. But for now, that's just to show you the idea behind it. But you could abstract it to however you want, however you want. Like you could just call it, like, maybe you're not interested in the high-level components. Maybe you want to just check out maybe you just want to test the checkout process, so you could just call it a checkout test, right? And you want to keep getting into these higher levels of abstraction. But for now, we'll just focus it on login. I mean, you get the point. Like websites come in different features. This won't suffice because this is talking about the pages. So you go into a higher level abstraction and you call it a test, like a login test, a payment test, a checkout test. For now, we'll focus on login test. So, TestNG, what it does, it like alleviates the need to depend on this, right? Public static void, you know what it is, main, right? And that opens up a few options for you where you get to wrap your methods up. So what I mean by that is, let's say you created one test, and you never want to call it something like this generic, right? Let's say test login. There's nothing wrong with rehashing the idea of login, but you usually want to test something more specific. Like let's say you wanted to test fail flow or something. You want to be more specific. So a fail flow might be like, all right, I want to willingly fail this login flow test and see what happens to the app, right? Or you want to say test success flow or something like that. I mean, that's one way of doing it. Ultimately, it's up to you. But usually when you get to a project, you'll see how they create their methods. But a lot of times what they do is they say, like, login test 1 or login test 2. But the more specific you are, like it's just better for you because you'll know specifically what you test. But for now, let's just focus on one test. So what this does is TestNG. Let me do this first. So this is called an annotation, right? And TestNG, the whole library comes bundled with a set of annotations. That helps you along. So if you hover over it, you'll see now you have this test option, and you'll just make sure it says org.testng.annotation. So first of all, let's all make sure we could do this. You could import it and you don't hit any errors. So let me know if you can.
We could just do that in any
just put it in a separate package. I decided to call the package test runner, and that's where we'll put all our high-level test case scenarios. So just do that and make sure you could import everything and you don't hit any errors. How are you guys? You could import it successfully?
Hold on. And it's big capital T.
Yeah, let me zoom it in for you. This.
Um, no, not letting me.
Make sure to hit save, like control save or command save, and let me know what happens.
Oh, you have to make a.
What?
You have to make a method first.
Yeah. Otherwise, let me look what happens. Well, I guess this is
Well,
fine, but you just
now let me. After I made the method, it let me import it.
let's see. All right, share your screen. How's everyone else doing? Are you guys hitting errors too?
Yeah.
You're hitting errors?
No. Like I imported it and that's it.
Oh, you're good. Okay. All right. Let's see what's happening with Berm. Berm, share your screen.
No, it's working. I didn't say no. It's working.
Oh, it worked for you? Okay.
Said you have to make the method first, then it works.
Yeah. My bad.
But
I should have mentioned that.
before it doesn't work.
Yeah. But now it should work. So yeah, make the method first and then put the test annotation. Okay. Now, where do we put? So now what I'll do, well, let me take out this checkout page. And since our code from here, all of it pretty much works, let me copy. What do we need? No, we should be good. All right, so I'll copy paste the entire thing. And I'll go to login test. And I'll paste it, and obviously just by this alone you don't see much utility in it since all I did was copy paste it, but we're gonna put up more annotations and you'll slowly start to realize where the utility comes in. For now, let me try to run it, and this is specifically how you run it. So I'm gonna pull out the terminal, and this is gonna seem long-winded at first, and you're gonna think, all right, why do it this way if I have to use the terminal? So the way you do it is go to system well, you make sure you're in the right spot in the the project. So let me command cd over to it, and I'm going to make sure I'm in the root directory of the folder. Right, so you're seeing the higher level source folders, resources and everything, right? And once you're in the higher level component of it, this is what you do. Maven, which is what we installed at the very beginning in the background, and you type in test. So after you do that, hit enter, and you don't have to do it right now, obviously. I'm just telling you how you should word yourself through it. All right, let me see. There's something wrong here. Give me a second. And don't worry about what I'm doing right now. I just want to make it work. Alright, should work now. Alright, so this is me running it, and everything is good. But go look into your POM files and tell me if you see this part. Just this. Make sure you have that, or else you're gonna hit that same error I just did.
I don't have that.
Okay, let me copy paste it to you and just paste it exactly how you see it in my screen. And just let me know when you pasted it. I don't expect you to run anything just yet.
Where did you send it?
It's in Teams. Like right here. The Code Boost 21 DMs. So just copy paste the entire thing.
I don't know. I'm not seeing it.
You're not seeing it in the Code Boost 21 DMs chat room?
I'm not. The last thing I see is Fahim saying ready. Let's wait. Hold on. Am I? Yeah. That's the last thing I see.
My team.
The rest of you guys see
I
it?
have to close it and reopen it.
Yeah, I see it.
Let me send it to you
Alright.
directly.
I see it on my phone. I don't see it on here.
I just sent it to you directly. See if you see it.
You have to restart your teams.
I didn't get it there either. So okay, yeah, that's probably what it is. If I close out of Teams, but like,
Yeah, you're
I'm gonna have
you're
to
gonna
join
get
this again.
booted out. So, see,
Alright.
I just PM'd it to you though. Do you see it now?
I don't see a private message. I see it on my phone. I don't see it on here.
Oh,
My
that's weird.
team does that. Like it doesn't update like sometimes.
Um,
So come back.
all right. Fa and Ish though, you guys are good with this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I see it now.
Okay. So let me know when you pasted it. I just want to make sure, like, obviously I don't expect you to follow along because there's a lot I'm typing. I realize that. I just want to make sure when you're on your own, you could do it without any compilation errors.
Wait, so we have to do that like every time or something?
No, you shouldn't. This should have already been in your POM. I'll find out why it wasn't on mine initially, but it should have always been here.
So I'm gonna. How do you? This whole palm shit. Like,
Yeah.
is this something you knew before? This
No,
whole
no.
QA
This is just
or you learned this after?
the whole POM thing. Even initially, like I get you're lost with it. It's not really important for now. This is just to get you up and running with the project. This is not the important concepts. This is something you.
How'd you eventually learn it?
There's nothing really much to learn. I know it just seems like a lot. It looks verbose, but it's not complicated. It's just something you start picking up, and we'll get right around to it. But this is one of the side things you start picking up the more you use it. For now, just think of it as, obviously you don't have Selenium in your machine. Obviously you don't have TestNG in your machine. This is just a quick way to do it if you just copy paste into it. This is all the POM file is. You see, there's only one file. And once you do
Gotcha.
that, you just have access to the library. That's literally all it is, nothing else. Yeah, but are you good for now?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Don't worry about this too much. I only did it to make sure your configurations are right. More important stuff is right here, and I'll show you why. So, once again, let me run it. And all I did was type in Maven test. Remember Maven as the package we installed before in the very first moment, and now we're just executing it. So it does the exact same thing. The only thing different is now it's doing it under test annotation. So yeah, we did optimize it a bit, the code here.
Wait, can you re-explain what happened? Like,
Yeah.
why does Maven test work now?
Maven test. So okay, so I'm glad you brought that up. So what Maven test does. Maven, obviously, you know, we have that in the background, right? So even if we type in Maven here, remember what we did last time. So we created something called a bash profile, which is like think of it as background text that your operating system looks at every time it's, you know, like opening up. So look, let me even walk you through what we did from the start. We created the path, right? And to this. Where is it? Right? So this is the program we downloaded at the very beginning, and we're looking at the binary. I just open it up right here. And it's right here. So you look at the specific variable I'm using, $sign Maven path. That only works because we call this we call the variable here, right? And if you want to refer to a variable, you just put a $sign to it, and you can open it up. Just the small things you pick up with this whole you know, terminal thing. So I open it up, and all that's doing is just pointing to this. Not this specifically. It's actually pointing to the binary folder, but it's saying that, all right, if I ever mention MVN Maven, look through all the paths I have here. And
No, I get this part. I'm saying like the test part. Why does the test part work?
Right,
like,
right.
It
So
knows what to run. And
right.
stuff.
So remember what we did. If I just put Maven test in a random folder, like let's go to. This looks like a desktop. So let's say I did Maven test here. It's just gonna give me a compilation error because it tried there to search for projects, couldn't find anything, right? And the reason is it's looking for something when I type in Maven test, right? So look, this is what I typed in. Where did I do it? So I typed it in here, but I did it in desktop. It's looking for something, but it can't find it. What do you think? What do you think it found in our project that it knew to run?
At test.
Yeah, so this is exactly what it's. That's why we highlighted it first. So what it does, it basically runs a basic search. It looks through source main Java, source main resources, source test Java, and it has its own algorithm to make it efficient. But it even looks through base page, everything. So let's do this. Let's go to the Pokemon folder and let's try it there. Let's see what happens if we do the Maven test thing here. So open up Berm's Pokemon project and let's go into that. Let's see what happens. But yeah, to answer Berm's question from before, I know it looks like a lot, but this is just how you get good at it. You try to experiment and see what happens if you do it on something. So now I'm in Berm's folder. He called it Pokemon 2, and let's try Maven test there. So clearly there's an error because it kind of specifies it for you based on how in depth the developer went in. But let's see what it says. See, there's no POM in this directory, which is referring to the POM XML file. So it already knows it's not that specific. So, not only does it look for that test annotation, but also looks for this, telling it if it's a POM file. So I'm pretty sure if you actually put a file in any random project called pom.xml, it's going to try to read that, right? Because that fits that first criteria.
So like login test.java, that's an exact copy of the other code, right? The old code?
Yeah, all I did was copy paste whatever we had in execute. All I did was copy paste it.
Okay, so so then in reality we don't really need the execute.java, right? This is we're just evolving our code now.
Eventually we're just going to delete execute altogether, right? Because this tells you nothing, right? Eventually I want to delete this. I'm going to leave it for now, but right after this lesson you're never going to refer to it again. You're just going to keep using this at test.
So are there benefits to doing it this way rather than
I'm getting to it, but yeah, there are massive benefits, and you'll only see once you start using it, but we'll try to get to some of it, and you'll notice some of it right away, but we'll get to it. Right, so all I did, like Ish said, we just copy pasted it, right? But we want to reduce the fat a bit because there's a lot of configuration stuff going on. And the test steps happen here. So let's separate this from everything else. Test steps. They all happen here. You sleep and then you quit. But if this were a login test, I want to hone in on this part, right? I don't care about all of this because this happens in every test. We'll leave the username and password because that pertains to. In fact, let's put this here because even if I put the test tag here, this is still that doesn't mean this changes the whole everything you've learned, right? It refers to the same thing. So if I delete this, that username and password will always be here, and it'll always be inputting that username, that password, right? So we could leave that there. So okay, that works. But there are other test annotations too. So there's another one called the before method. And like before, you gotta import. Oh yeah, like Berm said, you gotta create. Let's call it setup, right? And there's an after method. I didn't import it just yet. Let's say breakdown, and you'll realize why I'm using these particular method names. So let's call it tear down. Let's import it. Okay, so that's been imported. So now for the setup stage, what do you think I put in here? Don't think too much into it. It's very simple. What do I put into this block?
The driver? I don't know.
Keep going. You're in the right path.
Not sure. I don't know.
Okay. So obviously,
Maybe the driver and all the XPaths and stuff.
well, the expats are all in here, right? We don't
Like
need to
the
change that.
URL, path to driver.
So
set
let's
property.
say, yeah. So let's say this, but obviously there's a problem. Well, I'm pretty sure you don't know what the problem is if I put it all in there, right? What do you think it is? So let's what do you think the problem is? If I copy this whole block, put it in there, what's the problem? Even though I say set up, and this indeed does set it up, what's the problem if I copy paste it here and I delete this?
Like
Can't use it in login test?
Right, because it's not in scope anymore. So let's do it anyway and see what happens. Right, so even though I have these test annotation tags, it doesn't like absolve me of all the other things I have to abide by. Like this still has to be in scope somehow, right? But for now, let's leave it because we're headed towards that right direction, even though it's not quite there yet because you see these exceptions. It's not in scope. And what do you think I put in teardown?
like quitting and stuff.
Right. So I'll put this and this, right? And again, since driver is not in scope, that is a problem. Give me a second. Okay. How do I resolve it? If I want to maintain this, how do we resolve it? You think?
You could put the driver and stuff next to under like on line 16 before that function. That.
Yeah, but let's say I want to keep this clean. Let's say I want to pertain this just to login, which username and password makes sense. It's for login, right? But let's say, how about all these tests? Do you want to keep doing that again? Can
you run login tests inside of setup?
Login tests inside. What do you mean?
Like you run login test on line 25.
I mean, how do you want me to do it though? Oh, you mean like put it in and like this, right?
Yeah.
Let me see if that works. That was actually a good suggestion, but no, I guess that violates it. But that was a good suggestion. But that's not it. Any other ideas? So what do we do before? Anytime we have like these, the driver at least, or like things you know all of these tests should do. Like this should set up, right? This should set up, this should tear down. This should set up, this should tear down. This should set up, tear down, right? So anytime we have these kind of patterns, what do we always do?
Back it.
Yeah, you abstract it. So that's not too tricky of a question. But in this case, we're gonna create a class called hooks, and all that. Don't look too into it, and we're not gonna abstract it for a reason. I'll go over that later. But don't jump directly to abstract, and I'll tell you why. Because you could still extend it and you still have that same benefit. So look what happens if I extend from that hooks class. All I could do I could paste that here. I could delete it. Copy that. Go into hooks. That's missing bracket. So that's good for so far. But obviously, you know, the scope is the problem. You know, scope is a problem here. So now, what do you think we do? Well, to keep it in scope.
Extend it?
Well, we already extended it, right? But the problem is driver is not visible.
Wait, where is driver? You could put it on the outside?
Yeah, just put it on that side. None of this is a trick question. You guys all know this. So, right? And instead of creating a new WebDriver, you just refer to that. And now none of this should be hitting an error. If I hit save here, let's see. Oh, there's an extra. Okay. So no more errors. We're good to go. So now, yeah, I did all these changes, but you're still not seeing really the benefit of it because we could have done this with regular classes, right? And you know, this is gonna run through the same way. But well, let's run it. Let's see what happens first. I keep going back and forth. Let me. All right, so this extends from hooks. It should, I mean, just through natural language, you should, you know, ideally you should go before method, run this, and after method, right? That should be the transition. That makes sense. So let's run it. What happened? Oh, I'm still in the Pokemon file. Alright, it selects the first one and we're good to go. It closes it, right? But now you're not exactly seeing the benefits of it just yet, right? All you kind of did was separate it, and you could have not, you know, did it from the hooks class. What I mean by that is, let me just comment this out, and let me copy paste this back just for a quick second. Right, I just kind of went like, you know, kind of harder because I want you guys to get used to this whole idea of extending from things. Right, I could have done this and this would have been just as fine. If I were to run then this would work. This would go before, test, after. So you're seeing a slight benefit, not a huge one. You're seeing it, you know, separate itself. So there's like a brief segregation. So even if I were to copy paste this somewhere down below here, it may even test will still look for that before method before all of the methods. That's just how it runs. So there's a, you know, a slight benefit to that. But let me go back to how it was. Let me delete that. Let me delete that. And let me uncomment that. Right. So what if I to kind of really separate this from having a test and trying to find where the benefits are versus just using the whole, you know, main method. What if I wanted to test just that way I could type in a username, and let's say I end the test right there. That validates my scenario. And let's say in another scenario, I wanted to validate the password field, right? How do you think, based on pure intuition, how do you think I could do that? So obviously this is the only line 23 and 24 of this login test class are the only things you should focus on. But how do I make how do you think I make two separate test cases, right? So it should build it up, it should do the test case, and then it should terminate the session. And then it should start another session where it inputs the password, and then it terminates the session. How do you think I do that? This is all we have so far. Was my question clear? So let me be more specific. Say again?
Say the steps again.
Right, I got you. So one test case, it should just be this. I log in, I enter the username. Okay, a more convincing test case. Let's say you're running you're kind of suspicious of your login feature. For whatever reason, the users are just able to log in by just typing in the password and not the username, right? They hit log. They should get this, but you want to always make sure that they need to enter both fields and correct fields before they're able to log in. So you want two separate test cases always running, right? So for instance, if I did this and if I did this is not my valid test case because this would get in. But in the case that he's just able to do this, I'm not testing for this, right? And in case he's just able to do this and log in, I'm not testing for that. So that's a problem. Especially imagine if I were able to log in just by putting in the username. I'll hit login and it didn't give me this. That would be a problem, right? Let's just let that run. That's fine. So you guys get what I'm saying, right? That's a valid scenario. So I want two separate test cases. One that puts in a username and exits and hits the login button. And then if that's good to go, it exits the session. And another test case that enters the password without the username and then hits login and makes sure that you don't log in. How do you think I do that with this code?
Try catch.
What do you mean? Tell me exactly what you want to type.
Never mind. I mean, you could don't you need a separate test for that if you want to just?
Yeah, exactly. So how do I represent that?
Make another @ test.
No, very good. That's the answer. Right?
Now so when you write Maven test, how does it differentiate what you want to run?
So I'll answer that in a question. So let's say this is the username test. And let's say this is the password test. Right? And obviously the steps are going to be the same. And let's delete this. And here we delete username. Right? And I'll see what happens.
We just ran it in order, like first one and then the second one.
Well, let's see. Yeah, you see, that's me not doing anything. It clicks it out, and it exits, right? And then it tells you right here the amount of tests you ran. So anytime there's an instance of a test annotation, right, you encapsulate a different test in each run, right? And yeah.
So are you CD'd into login test at Java or like
no, not CD'd. I'm just CD'd into the main project. Remember, so like if I were to run Maven test, as a programmer, I expect that plugin, that Maven plugin to be, or that TestNG plugin to be good enough where I don't have to specify the login test. By my simply doing this test, I expect it to find it itself and run the scenarios itself and run it in order. Right?
So then, don't you want to run one test only sometimes?
Yeah, of course. And there's a way to do that. Let me see.
Oh, so that's how you name it?
Right. Basically, like I'll get into that in the next lesson because this is already like a lot to take in. But now that I'm able to wrap it up, you'll see that TestNG comes in with its own set of attributes, like stuff like this. I actually don't think that's the way to do it, but basically, just like you saw annotations used in XPaths, this gives you kind of a lot of control of sometimes you want to. I forgot if it was. Let me see if this works. It's like this. Let me see if that worked. So now ideally it should just be the password test. Let's let it run, delete, and it exits, right? So this is just like, this is not even touching like even a bit of the amount of control you have right now. So just by putting in the attribute of enabled equals false, it skipped it altogether, right? But that's already you're starting to see the benefits of this way of doing it over the main, right? Because this like imagine if you had like 100 different test cases, and you wanted to not only even then imagine doing enabled equals false to or setting true to a few of them and false to the rest. That's still a lot of work to do. TestNG, it wraps around the test cases and it gives you that control. It handles it over to you, and I'll show you how to do it. But does the general kind of philosophy behind it make sense now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the benefit to it, and we'll end the lesson here. But yeah.
One question. So in practicality, let's say I'm out in the world, I'm working. What would you do here? You would just run it and see what happens? Is that what your job is?
Yeah, if the code presented to you, if it's presented to you, I mean, you should expect it to run as, run as planned. Obviously, the code, you should expect it to not have any bugs, but it usually does. But yeah, if someone were to tell you to run it, in the real world, what is you have to think of it in the business sense, like, forget about the developers, forget about the QA testers, forget about automation, forget about everything, right? Anytime you're making an app, there's a huge team surrounding it, right? Even for something as a minor change like a feature, it could just be, I don't know, it could just be like a UI change, right? Even for something like that, that simple ask, it runs through so many top level business owners you can't even begin to comprehend it, right? And then it gets passed down to the product owner, right? And obviously, anytime you make a change to an app, so many things could have broken, right? And imagine having to tell a bunch of testers, all right, it might not seem like a lot, like right here, there's not a lot of test cases, but test cases could end up being up to like 300 to 400 test cases per product. There's a lot of stuff to do. And if it's as like straightforward as login, I mean, you can't even begin to comprehend it because there's so many test cases. But that's where automation really comes in handy, because I don't want to have to, nobody wants to have to go over, all right, is login working? Did anything break? You want to produce scripts. And right now, this is not nowhere near enough to tell because we haven't generated the reports yet, and I'll show you guys how to do that. But in the end, you just want to be able to run it, and the report it creates, you should be able to. It should be nicely made automatically enough where you could just give it a quick glance and make sure at the end everything's working fine. Because ultimately,
so that was my question.
Yeah.
When you're actually doing the job, are you sitting there watching this whole code
No,
run,
not even close. No, not even close. So what happens is,
just look at the report that it creates, which we'll learn how to make later.
Right, exactly. You don't want to peer at the code at all. If it's a good created, if it's well engineered, if everything was well coded, which it usually isn't. I could tell you right now, 95% of the code I looked at is pretty much garbage, because automation is relatively new. There aren't really skilled coders in it, and hence why you guys is like the perfect time to bring in your talent, right? If you take this seriously, you could become a really high paid, really high skilled, talent in this field. And it's so it's, the potentials are, endless, because most people don't put out good automation projects. What ends up happening is the code gets so bad that they end up manually testing because nobody keeps it up and it wasn't well engineered from the get-go. What ultimately the best end goal of it is for you to do this, for you to type in Maven test, or for you not to even do that. It should ideally, what should be happening is this should be running in the background every hour. Like it should just be doing itself. However much the server can handle, it should just be continuously running those tests, right? And if there's something broken, that's what you want to know about. The product owners don't care about they don't care about the specifics of the test. They want to know that they could leave it on you, and if there's something system breaking, that your scripts will just tell them automatically, right? Because nobody cares. Nobody cares the specifics of the test case. Like, I just want to know. Think of it from the business end. I just want to know if something breaks, so I could pull it from like deploy my developers, fix it, and re-release a patch. That's all they care about, right? And your scripts should always be running. And I'll teach you what I mean by always be running. There's a way to do that in the background through servers. But ideally, if you did it right, that's the best end goal to it. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That clears up the job a little bit for me. I kind of get it.
Yeah. But obviously, you could clearly see how if you have like 300 test cases, that's a lot to handle. So if you don't know the fundamentals, you're gonna end up like, I remember, I think Nabil was saying that his scripts were failing, and then he didn't want to fix it afterwards. I mean, that's a feeling a lot of people have, because they don't create good scripts, and then they end up you don't even want to look at the code anymore because you didn't do it right, and it's just a pain to fix where you don't want to look at it, right? It's like how you guys felt about the Pokemon project, like even putting that one new feature in. It's like a monumental task. If you had coded it, like if you used better principles from the get-go, which you shouldn't right away, obviously, but if you did, there's a lot to. It's going to be a lot. It'll make your job so easy where you won't end up even having to do anything, right? If someone asks you like to run a test case, you can do it like just by sending a command and just hanging back until it finishes, and that pretty much clears up your day. So that's where the beauty of this comes in.
So once you have this framework done, is your job pretty easy from then on?
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Like, think about it from a theoretical perspective. You're a tester, correct? But you're an automation engineer, first of all. Like, if you had created it correctly, right? And remember, apps change constantly. Like web apps, they change. You always add more features. As long as you incorporate new test cases, and your test cases are returning good results, right? They're producing accurate results, I should say. You have nothing to worry about, because that's the extent of the job. But that's like really simplifying it, or not really representative of what to say. Theoretically, yeah. Theoretically, you could literally spend a minute to look over your test reports, and if everything looks good, and if you feel confident in handing that over to the client, saying, all right, this broke, this is good, such that he takes your report, and if he's able to replicate it, like let's say something was crashing, and according to your scripts, and your scripts are correct, and that it identified that crash, you did your job, and you're good to go for the day. Like, you could hang back, and that's it for you, right? But that's assuming that your scripts are good. Like, if your scripts hand out bad results, for instance, if you say something was working, this is the worst case scenario. Let's say you were coding for a banking app, right? And let's say you tell the client, hey, I logged in, I went through all the payment flows, and I'm telling you this example because it actually happened to me. My team, we handle a banking app, and there's like, anytime you try to go to pay your balance, you have a minimum balance, current balance, or other, or something like that, right? You run through each of that, and that's like the prime automation scenario that no manual tester wants to waste their time on it, so you let your scripts do it. Now, lo and behold, our scripts didn't cache that, and it went into production, and this customer wasn't able to put in his other payment. And obviously, he makes a big deal out of it. That reaches to the the client facing side of the team. They raise an uproar, and that comes back to us. And obviously, the question became, why didn't our scripts catch that? It was such a simple scenario. Why didn't it catch that, right? So yeah, it's a very if you do it right, this could be a very rewarding job because it's so low maintenance. But don't mess up because that's when all hell breaks loose.
Okay.
Yeah. But other than that, you guys are good to go for today. And for the homework, obviously, I want you to do it. I want you to use that whole TestNG system. So obviously, in this one, what it would be is you extend it from that hooks class, and in here you would say public void test A to Z, something like that. Obviously, import it, and public void test Z to A. And it's nice because since you extended from hooks, because of this before method and after method, you don't have to do this tear down stuff again. It's always there. So all you'd have to do is extend from it, and you'd have to create your individual test cases. And it becomes very easy to see because now you could narrow it down to these specific steps. And this opens up, like Fa was mentioning this thing called Cucumber before, and we'll bring that up at another session. But you'll see why this is going to be so useful later, because this opens up a lot of possibilities. But other than that, we're good to go. Any other questions?
One thing, side note, how do you get your Eclipse to be, black background, the dark mode?
Oh, I forgot. I think I have my whole MacBook set up to that. Let me see, actually. I think I went to preferences.
Should be a theme in the settings.
If you have your MacBook that's a dark mode, it'll automatically.
Yeah, I think that's what I did. Actually, if you guys want to
say your MacBook's dark mode,
huh?
I'll just Google it. But does that also, because I see all your stuff is like different colors, like your string is blue, then your variable is yellow.
Where? Here? That does it automatically, I guess.
Mine is somewhat like that, but it's not that many different options. It's just like two different colors.
For me, it came that way, but that's probably because of dark mode. It did it itself.
Oh, all right. So I just gotta change the MacBook's dark mode.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. That's what I did.
Also, can you upload this video like as soon as possible?
Yeah. I actually uploaded. I uploaded yesterday's video, and I'll do this one right away. So but by the way, I don't expect any more excuses with the homework because we got a long weekend coming up, and I'm always available. So I don't want to hear during the class you weren't able to do it because I'm always have Teams up. I have it on my phone. So just tell me if you have something wrong. I'll drop everything and explain it thoroughly.
So do you want us to finish the original homework, but now through the test cases?
Yeah. Now add on to it. Now you have to do it this way. You use the TestNG. You add on the dependencies. You should have all that. But the only thing is, the original homework, the only thing it asks for is two test cases, A to Z and Z to A. You're just validating that, you go to sauce, this, and let me go into it. And yeah, you're just clicking that filter button and making sure all these, appear A to Z and Z to A. That's it. So do that and do the Pokemon. That's also important. Add on that leveling up feature. But I'll tell you now, it's a lot of work. So get started on it ASAP because the Pokemon project thing, I had to sit back and wonder to look back at it again. So it's hard. So get to it ASAP.
All right. Okay, I was trying to do the homework yesterday. Got stuck a couple areas, but I'll.
Yeah, post it in the group chat so everyone's, can pitch in and everything.
The same homework, right?
Yeah. It's just the Pokemon project and this project where you're filtering, but just make sure you do it through the TestNG way and not the old way. In fact, let me even just delete, just to not get you confused. I shouldn't see executes anymore because you don't need it. Now you have TestNG. So, and a better name for the packages folder, this folder would be test cases. So that makes sense. You got a page objects folder and the test cases folder, and this is dependent on this. So that's pretty much it.
Test cases, okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
All right,
I
we're
think
good to
that's-
go.
All right. Peace.
All right, later.
Later.